In this video, with a heavy heart, we address a matter of grave concern: the failure of the international community to prevent nations from committing war crimes. Whether it be the use of chemical weapons, the deliberate targeting of civilians, or the displacement of entire populations. The failure to prevent such atrocities speaks to a system that is, at times, paralyzed by political divisions and a lack of consensus. Let's take the recent example of Israel-Hamas conflict. Hamas attacks of October 7, 2023 can't be justified as Israel claims they took 1,500 Israeli lives. On the other hand, Israel's bombardment of helpless innocent civilians in schools and hospitals, killing 6,500 innocent civilians, is what exactly constitutes the book definition of war crimes.
So I am not going to accept the idea that Hamas on October 7th was a terrorist organization. They were carrying out a military assault, and they carried out with far more precision and far less collateral damage than what Israel's doing. If you're going to call Hamas a terrorist organization, then every single Israeli pilot that flies over Gaza today and indiscriminately drops bombs that have killed 6,500 Palestinian civilians, over 1,000 whom are children, then they are terrorists. And if they're terrorists, everybody who wears the green of the IDF is a terrorist, and every Israeli politician is a terrorist. And I think it's more accurate to call Israel the terrorist entity in this case than it is to say Hamas.
The persistence of such heinous acts in the face of our shared commitment to human rights raises serious questions about the effectiveness of our global efforts in fostering peace and justice. What Israel is doing in the Gaza Strip is the textbook definition of a collective punishment. This concept was articulated in 2006 by Israel as the Dahiya Doctrine, which dictates the use of overwhelming and disproportionate force and the targeting of government and civilian infrastructure during military operations. It received its name from the Dahiya neighborhood of Beirut, a stronghold of Hezbollah, which Israel destroyed almost completely during its assault on Lebanon in the summer of 2006.
Well, first of all, I just want to set the stage. Everything we're talking about is a war crime. Let's just be straight up honest about this. The concept of demanding that 1 million people leave their homes and move is a war crime. It's collective punishment. It's against the law. So anybody who sits there and says, we should consider, you're no better than the Nazis. You're no better than any war criminal that's ever existed. The fact that Israel is allowed to articulate this policy and not be held to account is stunning. The concept of collective punishment, which Israel has codified as official doctrine since 2006, is called the Dahiya Doctrine, mowing the grass, is a war crime, a literal war crime. As I said, you can only drop so many bombs on a helpless civilian population before people call you out for being the war criminals that you are.
In the book, The Guns of August, by Barbara Tuchman on the outbreak of World War I, she meticulously examines the diplomatic failures, military miscalculations, and political decisions that contributed to the outbreak of the war in August 1914. In the summer of 1914, nobody wanted the World War, but everybody slow walked their way into it. We could be on that path if we look closely at the geopolitical landscape of Israel-Hamas war. Let's go back to the beginning of World War I, the atrocity propaganda. When the Germans marched into Belgium, they were accused of ripping babies out of the womb, beheading children, raping young girls, all this stuff.
All of this fitted the master narrative of German barbarism that was begun with the invasion of Belgium in 1914 and actually persisted throughout the war.
Similarly, Hamas has been accused of the same thing. Every day, it's a standard thing. They beheaded children, raped women, and they did this. There is no evidence that they did any of that has been presented. You might find one example here or one example there. But from a policy standpoint, in fact, there is overwhelming evidence that Hamas, being a fundamentalist Islamic organization, they treat women with respect. All the Israeli women hostages who have been released by Hamas have said they treated us with respect. They gave us medical care. This is the documented response from the hostages released, unless countered by evidence provided by Israel otherwise. Whereas Israel has evidently defied the humanitarian laws by killing innocent women, children, and men by bombarding schools, colleges, and hospitals. In conclusion, the failure of the international community to stop nations from committing war crimes is a stark reminder of the work that lies ahead of us. It is a call to action for all nations to recommit to the principles that underpin our global community and to work together to build a world where the scourge of war crimes is eradicated and the dignity of every human being is upheld. The time for change is now, and the responsibility rests on all our shoulders.